Hello, everybody, and welcome to English at Ease. My name is Adam, and in today's video, we are going to be learning English by hearing about some of the weirdest English phrases that you will ever hear. These are some of the phrases people say in English that are very strange. If you hear these phrases, you are probably going to be very confused because they sound very, very strange. But by learning these phrases, by learning these different expressions, you can better understand native English speakers. And by using these expressions, you can start to sound more like a native speaker. Now, the first expression that we are going to be hearing about today, the first expression that we will be learning is put a sock in it. Now, this is one of the phrases in English that we might say is a little bit rude. This is not a nice expression. You are not going to say this expression when you are trying to be nice. You are going to say this expression when you are trying to be rude to somebody. So I would not recommend you use this expression if you are trying to be polite or if you are trying to be kind. I would only recommend you use this expression with somebody who is your friend and who might think that it is funny, who you might be comfortable enough with that they won't mind, that they will think that it is a little bit funny. Otherwise, I would not use this expression, or most people are probably going to think that you are a little bit rude. Now, in order to understand the expression, put a sock in it, you need to understand what a sock is. This is a sock. Socks are what you wear on your feet. You put socks on your feet before you put your shoes on. Now, when you tell somebody to put a sock in it, you might ask, where am I telling this person to put a sock? Well, when we use this phrase, we are telling somebody to put a sock in their mouth. When we say put a sock in it, we are saying to put a sock in your mouth. Now, the reason why we would tell somebody to put a sock in their mouth, why we would say put a sock in it, is not because we actually want this person to put a sock in their mouth. We are not expecting this person to take off one of their socks and shove it and put it in their mouth. No, of course, we are not going to expect anybody to do that. Instead, what you are doing is you are telling somebody to be quiet. You are telling somebody to stop talking, or you are telling somebody to talk quieter. You're telling somebody to lower their volume, to talk a little bit quieter, to stop talking so loud. So if you tell somebody to put a sock in it, you're telling them to either stop talking or to talk quieter, to not be as loud. Now, the idea behind the phrase is that if somebody has a sock in their mouth, if they put a sock in their mouth, they are not going to be able to talk. If you can imagine having a sock in your mouth, you would either not be able to talk at all, or you might be able to talk, but it would be hard to talk very clearly or to talk very loud. It would make your voice a little bit quieter if you have a sock inside of your mouth. So one example of how somebody could use this phrase is, imagine you are in a movie theater. A movie theater is a place where you can go to watch movies that are new, movies that have just been released. You can watch these at a movie theater. When you go to a movie theater, it is usually expected. People expect that you are not going to talk during the movie. You are not going to make noise during the movie, because if you make noise during the movie, it's going to annoy other people. It is very annoying when somebody is talking while you are trying to watch a movie. So imagine you are in a movie theater watching a movie, and there is somebody who is sitting next to you. They are in the seat beside you, and this person is on the phone. This person gets a call, and they are talking on the phone, and they are making a lot of noise, and they're laughing, and they're having a conversation on the phone that's very loud. You might turn to this person and say, "Put a sock in it." If you say to this person, "Put a sock in it," you're telling them to stop talking, to be quiet, because they are making too much noise. Now again, this would be seen as a little bit rude. And if you don't want to seem rude, then you would probably want to tell this person to quiet down, to talk more quietly in a nicer way, in a way that is more polite. But if you wanted to use the phrase, this would be the time to do so. This would be the type of situation where you would use the phrase, "Put a sock in it." Now, the next phrase that we are going to be learning today is, in my opinion, the weirdest, the strangest, and the most difficult to understand English phrase that there is. I think this might be the weirdest English expression I have ever heard. The English expression that we are going to be learning today is, there is more than one way to skin a cat. Now, when you hear this phrase, if you understand all of the words that I just said, if you've learned these words before, you are probably going to be very confused and maybe a little bit scared, because this phrase sounds very violent and very aggressive and very scary. And if you hear somebody use this phrase, you might think to yourself, I am not going to bring any of my pets around this person, because this person might hurt them. Now, if you don't understand all of the words in this expression, let me explain them to you. So the first word that it is very important to understand is the word cat. If you don't know what a cat is, this is a cat. A cat is one of the animals that a lot of people really love. A lot of people are very big fans of cats. They love cats a lot, and a lot of people even own cats as pets. A lot of people have cats living in their homes. Now, the second word that you need to understand is the word skin. This word is the verb to skin. Now, to skin something is to cut with a knife, usually with a knife, this is a knife right here, to cut with a knife the skin of something. This is skin. Skin is the part of your body that covers your bones and your blood and the other parts of your body that are under your skin. This is your skin. Now, the verb to skin means to cut the skin. It means to cut the skin of something, to cut it off, so that there is no more skin there. So sometimes when somebody kills an animal, they will skin that animal, because in order to eat the meat of an animal, you have to sometimes remove the skin. So when you understand this verb and you understand what a cat is, you might have a better idea of what this phrase means and of why it sounds so scary and why you might be very confused and possibly very concerned if you hear somebody use this phrase. If you hear somebody say, there is more than one way to skin a cat. Now, when somebody uses this phrase, they are not actually saying that they are going to skin a cat. They are not actually saying that they are going to cut off the skin of a cat. You don't need to be worried that this person is going to hurt or kill a cat. So if you have a cat and somebody says this phrase, you don't need to hide your cats, and you don't need to be worried that this person is going to try to hurt your cats. Really, what this phrase means is that there is more than one way to get something done. There is more than one way to accomplish something. So, for example, if you and your friend are throwing a party, if you guys are going to have a party, and at this party, you need to have food for people to eat, right? Every party needs food for people in case they get hungry. And if your friend is trying to cook a big meal that everybody can eat, but your friend isn't very good at cooking, your friend hasn't cooked before, and they are having a lot of trouble, if it's very difficult for your friend to cook this food, and they are not doing a very good job, and they don't know what to do because they don't have any food and the party is going to start soon, you might have the idea to call a restaurant on your phone and to order food from your phone. To order food from a restaurant so that the restaurant will bring you food and the people at your party can eat this food instead. If you tell your friend this idea, then you might also say to your friend, there is more than one way to skin a cat. By saying this phrase, you are saying to your friends that there is more than one way to get this done. In this specific situation, you are saying that there is more than one way to get food at this party. There is more than one way to be able to feed all of the people at the party. Now, surprisingly, this phrase is not considered a very weird phrase in English. If you say this phrase to somebody, they are probably going to understand what you are saying, and they are probably not going to think it is very strange. They are not going to think that this phrase is a very weird thing to say. It is very normal to say this phrase in English. Now, this might seem surprising because of how dark this phrase is. The idea behind this phrase of skinning a cat, of cutting off the skin of an animal that a lot of people really love, sounds very scary, but for some reason in English, this phrase is considered very normal. Now, there is a theory that some people have about this phrase that makes it a little bit less strange and a little bit less scary. Some people believe that when this expression was created, the word cat was not referring to the animals that people love very much, that a lot of people love and have as pets. Instead, these people say that this phrase was referring to a type of fish. There is a type of fish that lives in many parts of the United States, and probably in many other parts of the world as well, that in English we call a catfish. We call these fish catfish because in some ways they kind of look a little bit like cats. They have whiskers on their faces that look kind of like the whiskers of a cat. So we call this fish a catfish. Now, some people think that when this phrase was first created, when people first started to say this phrase, they weren't talking about skinning, about cutting off the skin of a cat, but instead they were talking about cutting off the skin, skinning a catfish, which seems a little bit more normal because when you are fishing and you catch a fish, if you want to cook that fish and eat that fish, a lot of times you are going to want to skin that fish. You're going to want to cut off the skin of that fish. Now, I don't know if this theory is accurate. I don't know if it is true or if it is fake. But if this phrase scares you a little bit, if it makes you a little bit afraid, and if it sounds a little bit too weird to say, then maybe you can just think to yourself when you are using the phrase that you are talking about a catfish and not about a cat. Now, the final phrase that we are going to be learning in this video is probably the most common. This is an expression that you will probably hear a lot if you are around native English speakers very often. This is a very common expression. The final expression of today is break the ice. Now, in order to understand what it means when we say break the ice, you need to understand two terms. You need to understand two English words. You need to know the meaning of ice and the meaning of break. Now, this is ice. Ice is water that has been frozen. We sometimes put ice into our cups with water or a different kind of drink so that we can make it cold. Ice makes our drinks cold. So ice is water that has been frozen. It's water that is in a solid form. It's not liquid. Now, the next English word that you need to understand the meaning of is break. Break is a verb. If you break something, it means that you are destroying it. It means that you are taking something and you are separating it into smaller pieces. So for example, I could take my phone and I could throw my phone at the ground and my phone might break. It might break into a bunch of little pieces. Now, the term break the ice comes from sailing. Sailing is when you are traveling around in a boat. Well, in the past, when a boat was sailing, when it was moving through water that was very cold, the water was very cold, there was a risk involved here. When a boat was sailing through cold waters, things could get very dangerous because sometimes there would be giant pieces of ice in the water. There was very big pieces of ice in the water. We call these icebergs. These are big, big pieces of ice that are in the water. Now, this was very dangerous. If you've ever heard of the famous ship called the Titanic, then you probably know that the Titanic sunk underwater because it ran into one of these icebergs. It was destroyed by one of these big pieces of ice. So what people used to do in the past when they were sailing through these waters on a big boat is when they saw an iceberg, when they saw a big piece of ice, they would have people who would go onto littler boats, onto smaller boats, who would sail ahead, and these people would break the iceberg in two. They would try to break the iceberg in half so that the boat could go through, so that the boat wouldn't run into the iceberg. So when people would break the ice, when they would break these icebergs, they were doing so in order to create a path for a bigger boat to be able to sail through. They were creating a way for this boat to sail through. They were getting rid of this obstacle, of this iceberg that might become a problem for the bigger boat. Now, we would use this phrase when we are referring to a situation that might be awkward or uncomfortable. If you are at a place where you don't know a lot of people, if you have to meet new people that you do not know, then it can sometimes be awkward and uncomfortable. To break the ice is to make that situation not uncomfortable, is to make everybody feel comfortable around each other. That is when we use the term break the ice. We use the term break the ice when we do something or say something that makes an awkward or uncomfortable situation not awkward or uncomfortable. So, for example, imagine that you are at a party and you do not know a lot of people at this party. Most of the people at this party are people you have never met before and you have never talked to before. Imagine that most of the people at the party do not know each other. Most of the people at the party are strangers to each other. They do not know each other. They are strangers. In a situation like this, you might have the idea of saying a joke so that people can start laughing, start laughing, and people might start to enjoy the moment a little bit more and start feeling more comfortable around each other. So if you say a joke and people start laughing, ha ha ha, and they start to feel more comfortable, then you have just broken the ice. You have broken the ice by saying this joke. Saying this joke that made everybody laugh would be considered breaking the ice, because you have made an uncomfortable situation more comfortable. This is what we call breaking the ice. So in the same way that people used to break ice in the water so that a boat could sail through, so that a boat could move through without getting destroyed, without hitting into the ice and being destroyed, in the same way, you might break the ice by doing or saying something that makes people feel more comfortable so that conversation can continue, so that people can start talking with each other and enjoying themselves, so the awkwardness of this situation won't continue. It won't ruin the day for everybody. This is what we call breaking the ice. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will be able to use these English expressions to sound more like a native English speaker. For more videos like this one, where you can practice your English by listening to the language spoken in a slow, simple, and clear way, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.